to really understanding what dictates success, both personally and professionally. And the sources we've looked at, they seem pretty unified on one central idea.
Yeah.
It's less about raw talent or resources, even luck. It's more about mastering your internal operating system.
Yeah, it's about learning how to think correctly, as they put it.
Right, learning how to think correctly.
And that phrase, it sounds simple, maybe a bit blunt, but it represents a really powerful mental framework. The material breaks this down, essentially arguing that success comes from specific shifts in attitude and action.
So like rewiring how we approach things.
Exactly. If you can adjust that internal system, the idea is you can handle pretty much any obstacle that comes your way.
And they kick off with this core paradox, which I found quite sharp. They suggest that most people who struggle, well, it's not that they aren't smart or they don't work hard.
No, the argument is they fail because their whole mindset is off. They're fundamentally thinking in the wrong way.
That's a heavy distinction.
Yeah, right? It is. And when they talk about that internal operating system, they're pinpointing things like your locus of control, where you think power resides, and your growth orientation, how you face challenges.
Okay.
So success, in this view, is achieved by making 5 really crucial shifts in those core settings.
Right. So let's jump straight into that first shift then. Getting rid of what they call the complaint trap. This sounds like moving from being passive to being, active.
Absolutely. The sources are, frankly, quite brutal about complaining. Whether it's about your job, your pay, the government, bad luck, whatever.
Yeah.
Complaining itself achieves 0, nothing practical. It's just passive leakage. It drains time, drains energy, and critically, it keeps the focus on external things someone often feels they can't control.
Which, psychologically speaking, that's a classic external locus of control, isn't it? Blaming everything outside.
Precisely. And that's the mechanism that keeps people stink. The real winners, as the sources define them, are the problem solvers. They see something broken, and instead of, wasting energy on the injustice of it all, they immediately start thinking, okay, what can I do? What's the next step toward a solution?
We see this so clearly in how some major businesses started. Mark Zuckerberg didn't just moan about connecting with people at Harvard.
No, he built something. He built Facebook to solve that specific problem he saw.
And Airbnb, similar story. The founders didn't just complain about hotel prices being too high.
Right. They saw that high cost as a signal, a gap in the market, an unmet need, and they created a whole new system for travel, basically monetizing spare rooms.
But we should probably pause here. Is there a risk of survivorship bias in these examples? Do the sources talk about the role of capital or timing?
That's a fair point. They do touch on it, mainly by emphasizing the actionable takeaway. They acknowledge life is often unfair. Some people start with huge advantages.
Okay.
But the key, they argue, the secret sauce, is refusing to waste mental energy dwelling on what you don't have or can't change. The power comes from focusing intensely on the very next thing you can do.
However small.
However small. That focused action breaks the paralysis.
That makes sense. Shifting from paralysis to action. Okay.
And that shift connects perfectly to the second crucial mindset change. If the complaint trap is about the now, this next one is about time perspective, rejecting instant gratification. It's about committing to the long game.
Yes, the instant gratification trap. Everything today pushes for speed, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Fast money, quick results, overnight fame.
Yeah, the algorithmic dream.
Right. But the sources insist pretty strongly that anything truly great, anything with lasting impact or, say, generational wealth, it just doesn't happen quickly.
And that impatience, that need for immediate results, is apparently the most common reason people give up too soon.
So this patience isn't just sitting around waiting.
No, not at all. It's active patience. It's fueled by a clear long-term vision. Think about companies like Apple, Amazon, Tesla. They weren't built quarter to quarter. They were built on visions stretching years, sometimes decades out. They prioritized building the foundation, the customer base, over hitting immediate profit targets.
The Amazon story is still kind of the gold standard for this, isn't it? For years, it was just an online bookstore, barely making any money.
Exactly. And investors were apparently freaking out, demanding short-term wins.
I remember reading about that.
But Bezos, he held firm to that long game. His focus was consistently, 5 to 7 years ahead? Dominate the market first, build the best possible customer experience. He wasn't worried about pleasing the doubters today.
He wasn't digging up the seeds every week to see if they'd sprouted yet.
Precisely. Which brings us to that farmer analogy they use, which I thought was great.
Yeah, me too.
Successful people are like farmers. They plant the seeds, they trust the process, they water consistently, and they wait, sometimes months, for the harvest.
While the unsuccessful person.
Well, they plant a seed, and if they don't see a sprout tomorrow, they get anxious. They dig up the soil to check on it, probably damaging it. Or worse, they decide farming beans isn't working after 2 days and switch to corn, then back to something else next week. Constantly restarting, never letting anything mature.
And that translates straight into career choices, doesn't it? Focusing only on today means taking the job that pays the most now.
Even if it offers zero growth potential.
Whereas the long game thinker might take a job that teaches really valuable, scalable skills, even if the starting pay is, well, lower.
It's an investment in their future value, their future earning potential. And the source puts it very bluntly. If someone doesn't have a clue where they want their skills or career to be in 5 or 10 years, they're already losing the long game. They're just drifting without a map.
A strategic map.
Okay.
But strategy involves action, and action, well, it inevitably involves setbacks, mistakes.
True.
Which leads us straight into the third big shift.
Yep.
Dealing with that huge inhibitor, the fear of failure. It's about reframing failure completely.
Right. Not seeing it as the opposite of success, but actually as a necessary part of the success process.
Failure as feedback.
Failure is feedback. Simple as that. It's just data. Life or the market or whatever, teaching what works and what doesn't so someone can adjust their approach.
And the main difference between those who make it and those who don't is how they process that data.
That's the argument. Successful people learn from the setback, they pivot. Others just stop. They let the failure define them or paralyze them emotionally.
The historical examples really drive this home. Thomas Edison, for instance.
The classic.
He didn't see his, 1,000+ attempts at the light bulb as failures?
No, he famously called them 1,000 ways that don't work. Each failure actually refined his understanding, getting him closer.
That's incredible mental resilience.
It really is. It's easy to quote Edison now, but imagine the sheer grind, the exhaustion of maintaining that belief after, say, the 900th attempt didn't work.
Yeah.
That requires a deep internal belief, a true growth mindset that sees competence as something you build through effort, not something fixed that you either prove or lose.
And then there's Steve Jobs, fired from Apple.
Yeah.
The company he started.
The ultimate comeback story, right? He could easily have seen that as the end, a total personal defeat.
But instead,
he used it. He started NXT, Pixar, learned crucial lessons about management, innovation, design, and then came back to Apple stronger, arguably saving the company.
That reminds me of the child analogy they brought up.
Oh yeah, that was powerful. A toddler learning to walk falls down hundreds of times.
Constantly.
But they don't have an existential crisis. They don't decide, oh, well, guess walking isn't for me. They just get up and try again and again.
As adults, we lose that, don't we? We bring in ego, fear of judgment, fear of looking stupid.
We worry more about looking foolish than we actually desire the growth that comes from pushing boundaries.
So we stay safe in the comfort zone.
Which is why the source challenges us. Stop asking, what if I fail? Start asking, okay, what valuable lesson will I learn when I try this, even if it doesn't work out perfectly the first time?
Learning. That seems to be the continuous thread here.
Absolutely. Which brings us neatly to the fourth critical shift. This one focuses on the external factors that either fuel or starve that growth. Environment and the need for continuous learning.
Right, the environment. The sources make a really bold claim here. Your environment is stronger than your willpower.
It's a strong statement. The idea is that attitudes, energy levels, standards, even opportunities, they're contagious.
So the old saying, if you're in a room with 5 successful people, you're likely to become the 6th.
Yeah, and it's crucial to understand what right people means here. It's not necessarily about wealth or fame.
Yep.
It's about being around people who are hardworking, optimistic, intellectually curious, always pushing themselves to grow. That's the kind of energy that lifts someone up.
Conversely, hanging around even richer, influential people who are constantly negative or always complaining
falls right back into that Section 1 trap. It'll drag someone down emotionally and intellectually, no matter how strong their willpower might seem.
So choosing your circle carefully is paramount.
Hugely important. And this includes seeking out mentors, people who will challenge you, correct your thinking, not just echo your own beliefs. Mentors can save years of painful trial and error.
And it also means having the courage to cut ties sometimes, right, with toxic relationships.
Definitely. Those relationships that just drain energy or fill someone's head with negativity and self-doubt, letting those go is often essential to create the mental space needed for growth.
Which is the second part of this section, continuous learning.
Yes. You can never, ever assume your knowledge is complete or final, especially now with the world changing so fast.
Things become outdated quickly.
Incredibly quickly. Knowledge has to be constantly sought, updated, expanded. The moment someone stops learning, they start becoming irrelevant. It's almost inevitable.
You see this dedication to learning in so many top performers. Warren Buffett reportedly spent something like 80% of his day just reading and thinking.
Yeah, absorbing information. And Elon Musk, he's not just running huge companies, he's actively teaching himself about completely new fields, AI, neuroscience, tunneling.
He dives deep.
He dives deep. These people are at the pinnacle, yet they maintain that beginner's mind, that hunger to learn. Contrast that with people who are struggling.
What's the pattern there?
Often they stopped actively learning years ago, maybe after college, maybe even earlier. They're relying on old skills, old knowledge, in a completely new game.
So continuous learning gives you the edge?
It gives the edge, the confidence, and the adaptability needed to take those calculated risks we talked about earlier, the ones that lead to growth.
Okay, that adaptability and confidence seem like the perfect bridge to the final shift. Adopting the entrepreneurial mindset. And this isn't just for business owners, right?
Not at all. That's key. It applies to anyone in any role. It's about internalizing the principles of ownership, initiative, and value creation.
So less waiting for instructions.
Exactly. More looking for ways to improve things, seeing problems as opportunities, taking calculated risks, acting like you have a stake in the outcome, regardless of your official title.
It really boils down to that ownership difference, as they call it. Comparing someone who just sees their job as a paycheck, doing the minimum,
versus someone who takes ownership, who treats their role or their department or the company's challenges as if it were their own business.
What does that look like in practice?
Owners are always thinking, how can we increase revenue? How can we improve this process? How can we make things more efficient? How can we serve the customer better? They act like they already own the place.
And those are the people who tend to rise quickly.
Inevitably, because they make themselves indispensable.
The Howard Schultz story at Starbucks fits perfectly here, doesn't it? He wasn't the original founder.
No, he was an employee. But he saw potential. The founders missed that vision of the third place, the coffee house experience. Yeah. He basically treated that vision as his own venture, took risks, persuaded investors, and transformed Starbucks into what it is today. He acted like an owner long before he was one.
And this ties right back to the very first point, doesn't it? The complaint trap.
Beautifully. The person with the employee-only mindset sees a problem and complains about it. Maybe to coworkers, maybe just internally.
While the person with the entrepreneurial mindset
sees the exact same problem and thinks, okay, how can I fix this? Or who do I need to talk to get this solved? That proactive, solution-oriented approach makes all the difference.
So the ultimate call to action here is about taking control. Stop the blame game, blaming the boss, the economy, bad luck, whatever.
Take radical responsibility. The core question becomes, what can I do right now, today, to learn something new or take an action that makes me more valuable?
If someone thinks like everyone else, they'll likely get results like everyone else.
Pretty much guaranteed. But adopting these mental shifts, consciously practicing them, defines a different path. It opens up the possibility for achieving results that most people, frankly, only dream about.
This has been a really fascinating exploration of how much control we might actually have. Just to recap the 5 key shifts we dove into. First, stop complaining and start solving problems.
Take action.
Second, play the long game. Reject that lure of instant gratification. Think like the farmer.
Patience and vision.
Third, reframe failure. See it as essential feedback, as data, not as defeat. Learn like a child learning to walk.
Resilience.
Fourth, consciously choose your environment for growth. Surround yourself with the right people and commit to relentless continuous learning.
Environment and education.
And finally, fifth, adopt that entrepreneurial mindset regardless of your job. Take ownership, find solutions, make yourself valuable.
Act like an owner.
The underlying promise in all this seems clear. When someone genuinely stops waiting, stops complaining, stops fearing failure, and really commits to, well, thinking correctly,
the world shifts. Obstacles start to look more like opportunities. The landscape changes.
So, as a final thought to leave people with, something provocative based on everything we've discussed.
Okay. Well, if we accept that real success is often built on navigating failure, and deep knowledge comes from constantly adapting and discarding old ideas, maybe consider this. What long-held, comfortable assumption about one's own abilities or about the path to growth might need to be completely discarded? thrown out in order to learn something truly new and valuable. What comfortable idea is actually holding someone back?